Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on a little bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now, whilst we wait for the new policy coming up for 2022 and 23, obviously we've been tracking on all the media and the news in regards to the new, so-called the new government's policy in regards to crack down a lot of issues for resulted from the previous government. Now, this video today, I would like to discuss in regards to the skill migration. There's so many people leaving comment in regards to whether or not I've got such a points. Do you think I will likely to be invited either onshore, offshore, this occupation, that occupation? So I would like to give you a little bit of the broad view over on about this kind of issue. Now, obviously, we understand. First thing is that the skill migration quota has been added in for additional 30,000 quota for 2022 and 23, despite that there has been no change to the annual migration intake fixed at 160,000 set it by the former government. Now, obviously, I'm still in the hope and the view that the new government, this government, the Albanese Labour government, is looking in a way to increase the budget and obviously increase the annual intake, because that's the only way and that's the ultimate way to resolve all this kind of issue. But anyway, we will wait for that news to come up, perhaps in later July, or they will definitely have a budget review and announcement in October. But obviously we don't want to wait until October. So anyway, let's see what happens. So let's answer the questions. So skill migration, if I have this kind of points, this occupation, what is the likeliness of getting invited and migrate to Australia? Obviously, we are in a era that looks like the economy of the world, and obviously that's going to affect Australia. That doesn't look too good. Obviously, there has been so-called recession and countries bankrupted. Countries coming up. There's Sri Lanka, and I believe there's going to be a lot more coming, numbers of more coming, as their national finances doesn't look too good. So obviously that will all affect, and also the war continues going on in Eastern Europe, and the stability in Asia as well, and how the US is leading the team to decouple all the manufacturing powerhouse in China. So all these uncertainties will add up to the uncertainties of economy. Now, obviously, if you have followed my channel long enough, you'll know that how the Australians have actually react to the uncertainty and react to the economy issues is that they will press the button to initiate the immigration policy, so that the door is open, and it seems to be it will open for not just a short period of time, but at least I would say a period of 3 to 5, perhaps 10 years. See how that goes. But anyway, that's good news for everybody that's following my channel and the viewer following my channel, if you wanted to migrate through skill migration. So obviously we are at this page of the point test system. A lot of people has actually gone through this a lot, and you may be familiar with the EOI and things. Now, I did have a lot of video in regards to this and how that actually work. Now, the other page that I want to show you is obviously once you click on eligibility and you click on the be able to score 65 points, whether or not they get to lower that down back to 60 points, we don't know, but see how that goes. And if you click on the point calculator, you'll be able to get yourself into this page where they have tabled up for all the items and the scores required. So it's very detailed here. I'm not going to go through because I have gone through a video on this one already. But what I want to chat to you about is not the detail or points that you can actually get, but if you have calculated it, obviously you need to ensure that you pass or already pass skill assessments. And then if you have 65 points, now I'm gonna dissect this into 3 sectors. So so in this video I'm talking about if you only got 65 points, and what if you get 80 points, and what if you get 80 points above perhaps 90 points, and what is the likeliness and what your options will be. So now first thing first, if you barely meeting 65 points, now that basically meant that your IELTS could not go beyond, here we go, the English language skill. I'm pretty sure if you only got 65 points, your IELTS perhaps may not even go beyond IELTS 7. So you probably are fixing yourself at competent English. Now, if you're that kind of person, I'm not here because everybody's different, your academic achievement can be higher. Some of the people, they cannot academically achieve that high as what we speaking of. So if your points is only barely or just meeting 65 points, whether or not you get state nomination or perhaps you get the 190 or 491, depends which one you're gonna go for, then my suggestion is that you probably 70 plus percentage that you're gonna stick to state nomination, because without state nominations you probably won't get closer to even get invited. So what does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? You need to find a state that is more friendly towards your occupations, and because of your occupation and your English score proficiency doesn't meet the requirement, you need that state to provide additional nominations. So if we look back to this page here and we scroll down to the state nomination, at the very back, very end. Here we go. Now this, bear in mind, this is subclass 190. You will actually get 5 points. So you only get 5 points. So if you only barely meet 60 points, you will need the state, whichever the state, to nominate you to give you additional 5 points. Which state, I don't know, because there's going to be a new policy coming out for 2022 and 23. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to learn more about this. Now, that's for those category people. Now, if you perhaps you can actually get IELTS 7, now if you go to IELTS 7, if we go back to this page, you will see that you will meet proficient English. Now, what does that mean? Now that actually meant a lot, because you get additional 10 points, and whether or not you actually get it, that means you probably get yourself into between 70 to 80 points. That depends on whether you get a state nomination or not. Now this kind of people will probably lock themselves more towards 190 as what we just saw off, or perhaps sometimes we don't know about 189 as of yet, because the federal government has not really announced the quota, but obviously for the past 2 years we barely seen any 189 invitation from federal government itself, but obviously there will be an increase quota in that lot there. So either 189 or 190 will be more likelihood, and that gets you to a permanent residency straight away. I think that's a good way to go, and compared to the barely getting 65 points or 60 point people, they will probably fix themselves more towards 491. Now, if you don't know about 491 and 190, what's the difference between that? 491 doesn't give you a permanent residency straight away. However, you require to continue to stay in regional Australia, and there are some areas such as Gold Coast, Adelaide, Perth, Tasmania or Darwin. These areas will be categorized as regional areas, so you are required to go there. So if you're that kind of people, you probably would choose those areas to go. But if you are more confident enough to at least get into proficient English, that is IELTS 7, then let's have a look here. Then perhaps you can pick some of the larger city to go, for example Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney. Now we don't know about the Victoria and New South Wales policy, but if you do get proficient English, you get that additional 10 points. you're getting more likelihood to actually get invited under 189 or 190 by those big states. Now, finally, last but not least, if you have the confidence, now I always encourage people to do this, because getting a better English is much easier and quicker than getting another degree. Now, you may not agree with me on this one, but the fact that we have seen so many people putting efforts in training themselves to obtain superior English, it is not impossible. It is really possible, and I've seen so many reaching superior English. Now, what level is that one? That is straight 8. Okay, 8 across all bands in IELTS. So it's not impossible, it is possible. So if you do, putting yourself time, efforts, academically, specialize in English, or perhaps IELTS or PTE, there's so many people reaching that level in PTE, then you will be reaching EOI points about 80 plus. Now, that is a superior points level. That allows one, if you are in offshore, you are still likely to be invited. Now, talking about onshore and offshore, if you only hitting between 60 to 80 points, I would say you are more likely to get invited if you're onshore. But if you have superior English, you will get more likelihood that even if you're offshore, you will still get invited with the new policy. But obviously, people will ask me, well, what if I'm onshore? Well, then your likelihood will be added up. It's going to be higher than that. And obviously, you access 189 and 190 much easier and much prioritized to your actual skill migration. So let's sum it up with all this together. So 60 points, barely meeting that kind of mark. You probably will try to go to regional Australia and aim at subclass 491. And 70-80 points people, you probably try to fix yourself in 190 with higher percentage of getting invited, and obviously better than the 60 and 65 people, and somewhere higher with 80 plus points. That means you probably get your superior English. Then obviously you will actually get a higher chance if you're onshore, and even you get good chances if you're in at offshore as well. So what am I talking about here? Now, last but not least, let's go back to this. English is the key. English is the key. Now, obviously, the first thing that you require to do is skill assessment. You need to get a pass. You need to get a positive result in skill assessment. But then, what determines whether or not you get invited? Here we go. English is still the key towards skill migration. Why am I saying that? Because that is the only thing that you can achieve in a short time. How do you accrue work experiences between 1 to 3 years in short time? You cannot. You need to let the time pass. But English, yes, you can. You probably spend a good effort and time. 6 months, you probably can reach proficient English. And another 6 months, you probably hit superior English. It's much quicker to achieve that goal compared to accruing your work experience. Whether or not you agree with me, well, welcome to leave a comment right down below. And I see you next video. Goodbye.